Rocky Hill Accountants offers a unique, low-pressure approach to professional and personal services, which is why they have an excellent client retention rate and are extremely proud of the high-quality services that their firm provides. The executive team at Rocky Hill Accountants has over 35 years of combined experience in income tax preparation, bookkeeping, accounting, and IT crypto tax. They specialize in individual income tax preparation, as well as trusts, estates, and gift tax returns. The tax deadline for individuals is May 17th. If you're one of the 50 million Americans who still hasn't filed, visit RockyHillAccountants.com.
The Giants are running New York like the Times as Danny is dropping all sorts of dimes. Saquon's thighs are ruining defenses' lives and Leonard Williams making opposing QBs feel him. Receivers think it's scary to line up across James Bradbury, and the Giants have a bright future led by Coach Judge, Jury, and Executioner. Tune in to Drawing About the G-Men every Wednesday at 6, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
High fly ball, right field. Grossman back, track, wall, see ya! Into the second deck! A grand slam the other way for Aaron Judge, and the Yankees are pouring it on!
For the latest news throughout the sports world, tune in to Sports Talk with R&J every Wednesday at 1 p.m.
Thank you, Jace Garcia. Big thanks to Jace for putting that promo together for our show. Great job, Jace, putting that together. Excellent job. It's just so great. It's just so great to have a promo for our show. And we got to start with Aaron Rodgers. We got to start with the news from Thursday. I mean, he wants out of Green Bay. He told him Thursday that he didn't want to return to the team. Then on Saturday, he wanted Brian. He said he will return, but the only way he'll return is if Brian Gutekunst gets fired. So this is a messy situation in Green Bay. And the route where this all began, though, was at the draft last year, when they drafted Jordan Love and they didn't tell him. I thought that was an absolutely terrible pick at the time. I thought it didn't help their team one bit to have Jordan Love. It doesn't help one bit to have this isn't they're going to compare it to Favre Rodgers. This is not 2005, okay? In today's NFL, you cannot have a number one pick sitting on the bench. You think that the Saints probably would have loved to have taken Jordan Love last year, but they were committed to Drew Brees. They believed they could win with Drew Brees, and they did not want that situation. They didn't want that quarterback controversy. But Green Bay chose to have that quarterback controversy. And yes, it fueled Aaron Rodgers. He had a great year. But at the end of the day, he had a great year. But at the end of the day, and in that game against the Buccaneers, he didn't have that good number two receiver to get him over the top. And obviously, the head coach took the ball out of his hands. So, right now, Aaron Rodgers, I don't blame him for wanting out of Green Bay. I don't at all. I mean, this guy, in my opinion, is a top 5 quarterback of all time. I know it's crazy to say that, but he's a top 5 quarterback of all time. And I'll give you the reasons why he's lost playoff games. For his first playoff game against Arizona, team gives up over 40 points. How is that Aaron Rodgers' fault? Then he wins the Super Bowl. He had a pretty good defense that year, but then he wins the Super Bowl in 2010. 2011, he loses to my Giants. They give up the Packers drop 9 passes, and he gives up 37 points. The year after, he loses the 49ers. Team gives up 37 points. 2013, he's hurt. The team is he pretty much has a great game against the Bears to get them to the playoffs, then drives down the field and ties the game against the 49ers. But guess what happens? The defense can't stop Colin Kaepernick. 2014, he should have easily made the Super Bowl, but the special teams unit could not recover an onside kick. And then 2015 makes an unreal play, one of the best plays you're ever going to see. Unreal Hail Mary, the second time he did it that year. But guess what happens in overtime? The defense doesn't make a stop. 2016, which he should have won the MVP. Matt Ryan robbed him of that MVP that year because he took a team with a running back that had the number 88 on the back of his jersey. The number 88. Running backs don't have 88 in the back of their jerseys. They converted Ty Montgomery to a running back, to become a running back from receiver to a running back that year because they had no running game at all. And then he pretty much single-handedly goes in. They beat the Giants. He had that Hail Mary again beating the Giants, a team that had a better roster than him, but they had the much better quarterback. That's why they crushed us. And then the next game against the Cowboys, he single-handedly makes an unreal throw to Jared Cook, and they win that game. So they move on to the NFC Championship game. And the NFC Championship game, they were just overmatched. They were overmatched against the Falcons. Next year, 17, he gets hurt, and they were 4-1, probably the best team in the NFC. Them or the Eagles that year were the best team in the NFC. He gets hurt. The season completely falls apart. The next year, 2018, he gets hurt opening night, and even in that game, he had that miraculous comeback, down 20-0 against the Bears, has a miraculous comeback to come back and beat them. But then he's just not 100% for that season. The year after, had another really good year under Matt LaFleur. First year, won 13 games, but they just overmatched the NFC title game. And last year, they probably should have been in the Super Bowl. If they had a good number 2 receiver and a coach that didn't take the ball out of his hands late in the game, they probably beat Tampa, go to the Super Bowl, and they probably have a very good chance of beating Kansas City. So for all that's happened in Green Bay, this is not Aaron Rodgers' fault. This is an organization that has failed to put the right pieces around him for years, and that's why he only has 1 Super Bowl ring. Is he as good as Tom Brady? No. But he should have much more. He should definitely have more than 1 Super Bowl ring. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely should. And you can even, for that Tampa game too, when they got beaten the Hail Mary, then the half too. Like that should have never happened. It's never really been his fault. He's kind of done all he can do in Green Bay, and they haven't helped him. And I saw something this morning that, I guess in their group, in the team text messages, I guess he calls the GM like Jerry Krause of the MJ era out in Chicago. So it kind of shows you what he thinks out there. But yeah, I think for Rodgers, I don't blame him for wanting to leave. I thought there was no way he would want to leave. I thought it was more of just after a loss, just frustration, and just kind of, you don't really know what you're saying after a loss like that. So, and especially the way they, took the ball out of his hands in the final possession there, they should have obviously gone for it in the 4th down. But yeah, I don't blame him. But now I know this morning the Packers, I guess, too, now are not happy with the Niners in Denver because they've talked to Aaron Rodgers about going there.
Of course they're going to talk to him. I think the Niners are out of it now because they drafted. We'll get to the Niners later. But Denver is a huge, huge favorite to get Aaron Rodgers, in my opinion. Looking at their quarterback situation, and they have a roster that if they don't have to give up like Von Miller, that could be a team that could compete with Kansas City. But we'll get to that. But yeah, this is total mismanagement on the Packers' part. I mean, after Mike McCarthy gets fired, I like Matt LaFleur, but he's a good coach, but he's a B level head coach. He's not a great. I don't think he'll ever be a great coach. I think a big reason why Matt LaFleur has had success in the league is because he's had Aaron Rodgers. I mean, and obviously when it came to making and it was 2 decisions last year with Matt LaFleur that were terrible. One, the fact they were in man coverage, and on that Scotty Miller touchdown, and they blamed it on Mike Penton became the scapegoat. They made Mike Penton the scapegoat, but you're the head coach. You should call a timeout and not have a team in man coverage in that situation. And then the absolutely pathetic decision to kick the field goal. That just couldn't have been more pathetic, that decision. And then Brian Gutekunst. What are you doing drafting a quarterback in the 1st round when you have a top 3 quarterback in the league? If you want to make your quarter and not even consult him, the Kansas City Chiefs talked to Patrick Mahomes about drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire. There's nothing in that organization Patrick Mahomes doesn't know. The Buccaneers talked to Tom Brady about, drafting Kyle Trask. Even the Vikings and 49ers talked to their quarterbacks about drafting other quarterbacks. The Packers didn't do it with theirs, and their quarterback is outstanding. Just a terrible way it's really a way to just tick your quarterback off. It's just absolutely just pathetic what's happened in that there. And Green Bay's lucky they've had Aaron Rodgers all these years, because if they wouldn't, you saw what they were in 2017 without him. You saw what they were in 2013 without him. They were clearly worse when he's not on the field.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, if it's Jordan Love that takes over, because they do, get rid of Rodgers, they're not going to be that good next year. It's and again, when you only pick one wide receiver for in the last 8 years, that's Devontae Adams, and that's it. They've picked one offensive weapon for him. And I know what Rodgers, it's okay, he can make up for some of your kind of flaws on offense, but And I know they've had some defensive problems over the years. It's been better the last 2-3 years. But still, you have to go out and go get him something. You got to go get him a number 2. You would think they would learn the lesson by now, but they haven't. I mean, I like the Cornell Powell pick in the 3rd, 4th round, but I think he could turn into a decent receiver, but that's not moving the needle though.
Oh, and in their draft, they had a ton of reaches in their draft. They had a reach in the 1st round, reach in the 2nd round. I don't think they drafted well either. I mean, they just didn't. They did take Amari Rodgers in the 3rd round, but still. I don't think they drafted that well either. So this situation with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, I think it's unrepairable. I think either one thing has to happen. Rodgers is going to have to be traded, or Gutekunst has to go. I don't think Gutekunst. I wrote this in my article. I don't think Gutekunst and Rodgers are going to be able to coexist after this. I think that relationship is broken. One of the two has to go for this team to move on.
100%. Yeah, they're at a point where they're beyond repairable. It's for the Packers, I think you would have to get rid of Gutekunst. You would think to keep your, but again, I know he says it makes him happy, but how much longer will make him happy? If they lose again the NFC title game, he may want out next year. He may want to go win one more. He may feel like he got a better chance somewhere else.
Good question, Jace asked. Could the Giants use those 2 first-round picks next year to get Rodgers? Without question. Honestly, I don't even care what kind of season Daniel Jones has had. I will take Aaron Rodgers. I will give up those 2 first-round picks in a heartbeat to get Aaron Rodgers. That team's a Super Bowl contender with Aaron Rodgers. You don't really know what that team is with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has been inconsistent the first 2 years of his career. If the Giants had the opportunity to get Aaron Rodgers, say Daniel Jones, say they go 10 and even if they go 10-7, Jones, the team was kind of carried by the defense. They win the division, lose in the 1st round. I'm definitely trying to go after Aaron Rodgers. You're definitely trying to get better at that position. There's very few teams in the league that shouldn't want Aaron Rodgers on their team. I mean, obviously Tampa Bay, no. Kansas City, no. Maybe Seattle, no. But if you're not, one of those, 4 teams in this league, you should definitely be. I mean, and the teams with the younger quarterbacks like the Chargers with Justin Herbert. But if you're not one of those teams, you got to be looking at getting Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the guy's outside of Tom Brady, he's one of the biggest erasers in the NFL, and it was proven the 2 years he was hurt. I mean, the 2 years he was hurt. Look at the Packers' records, and the 1 year he was completely banged, tried to play hurt. That 2018 season, look at what the Packers were. They were not good. They were an under 500 team. So if you're the Giants, absolutely, I'm giving up those 2 first-round picks in a heartbeat to get Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because it's a deep draft. More than likely, if the juniors come out who should, it's going to be deep. 2 first rounders. I think you would have to. Especially if Jones has another kind of up and down year in a division where it's so winnable. If they get Rodgers, again, they should win 13 games in that division right now. Which who knows from a year now where they're at, but still, that division, the Giants would easily breeze by it with Aaron Rodgers running the offense.
Oh, absolutely, especially with what they've got on offense with Kenny Galladay, with they had obviously Kadarius Toney in the draft. I mean, I would give up even now, I give up those 2 first-round picks now. I don't care about Dean. I mean, come on. I'm sorry. Daniel Jones has not shown to me that he could be an elite quarterback. Aaron Rodgers is an MVP last year. If I had the option to give up those 2 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers, I'm doing it in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah, 100%. You got a chance to have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Yeah, he's up there in age, but still, you looked at his MVP season last year, and he looks, still in his prime. I don't think he's going to be 45 and Tom Brady playing, but look, I think he can get up there to 40, 41.
Oh, I think 40, 41, 42, absolutely.
Yeah, so again, that's, another 3-4 years of Aaron Rodgers, I think it'd be worth it. It'd definitely be worth it to give that up if you're the Giants.
Absolutely. We look at some of the other teams too, because we talked about the Giants. They were on my list. They were on the 5 teams on my list. They were one of them. The other teams were Denver's the obvious one. Denver's like the obvious choice. I mean, their quarterback situation. They got cap space. That's the obvious choice. Another sneaky one is the Washington football team. And let me tell you, if the Washington football team gets Aaron Rodgers, it's game over. It is over. Especially if they can keep everyone on that defensive line. They can keep Chase Young. They can keep Montez Sweat. They can keep Payne. They could keep Jonathan Allen. It's game over. If they get Aaron Rodgers, they'll easily win the NFC East without question. I mean, they're almost the favorite with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Imagine what they would be with Aaron Rodgers. Other teams too, Miami, but that's a tricky one because I think they might be sticking with Tua. But if you got the chance to get Aaron Rodgers, you ship Tua to Green Bay, and you get Aaron Rodgers, and you're right there. You're right there, or better than the Bills, and you're definitely a top team in the AFC. And then my last one's Cleveland, and I think if Cleveland got Aaron Rodgers, they would be the best team in the AFC because it's just how good that roster is. And you saw what they did in the draft, getting Greg Newsome and getting that linebacker from Notre Dame. If they got Aaron Rodgers, they would probably be the best team in the AFC. They'd be better than the Chiefs if they somehow got him. Now it's a long shot they would get him, but if the Browns got him, they would be better than the Chiefs.
Oh yeah, Cleveland did that with that roster, yeah, and with the way, yeah, because I'm like they had a chance to go into KC. They had the ball kind of with the chance to take the lead late in that game. They only came up short, but they had him, Rodgers versus Mahomes. Cleveland being like the best, would be crazy, but it's definitely a long shot, but that'd be an interesting one with the weapons they have. Seeing him and Odell would be a very interesting combo, but that'd be a really good combo. Hopefully Odell could stay on the field. For the Denver one, yeah, it's the most obvious one. That division would be insane if Herbert, Mahomes, and Rodgers, and then the poor Raiders with Derek Carr. I know
the Raiders would be screwed if Rodgers went to Denver, and I think that's my favorite right now.
Yeah, no, that's mine too. That'd be an absolute gauntlet to go through. I do think they're the favorite right now. He would be their Peyton Manning from a few years ago. They're just a quarterback away.
Absolutely, obviously, completely agree. And now their team isn't as good, but yeah, absolutely, he would be like Peyton Manning going there. That's a great comparison.
Yeah, I know, he's still different level right now than what Manning was when he went to Denver, but he definitely would be kind of that one piece they need at quarterback. With all those young offensive weapons they have, that would be fun to watch Rodgers out there. Miami, that's an interesting. If Tua
there, yeah, I mean, if Rodgers can and we'll go to where we think Rodgers is going to go to. I think Rodgers easily ends up. I think it's pretty obvious. I think the team, if he gets traded, I think it's the Broncos. And say he gets added to the Broncos, you with the running game, you added Javonte Williams, you still have Melvin Gordon, receivers. You got Cortland Sutton coming back, KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy. And the offensive line with Garrett Bowles, who was one of the top left tackles last year. So you did lose Juwan James for the season yesterday, but you do have one of the best left tackles in the league in Garrett Bowles. On the defensive side of the ball, obviously, if they don't have to give up Von Miller, that'd be great. If they would have Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. You got a good secondary. You added Patrick Surtain. You got one of the best safeties in the league in Justin Simmons, and you talked about Garrett Bowles. Jace had to get that one in. But yeah, I mean, if you look at secondary, you got Patrick Surtain, Kyle Fuller, and Justin Simmons. So if he goes to the Broncos, they would be a Super Bowl contender, and that's a team where I think he's going to end up playing starting in 2021. I think he's going to be a Bronco. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I'm with you too. It makes the most sense. He wants to go out west. It may not be the West Coast, beautiful California, but it's still Denver. They have some stuff to give up. They have the cap room. They're pretty, or they have to move around a little bit, but they could, pay most of that contract. They have to. It seems really obvious that Green Bay does pull the trigger on this. It'd be Denver.
Absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Aaron Rodgers, and we're going to be talking about it for a while. But because I don't think the Packers are going to trade him immediately, but I think it's probably going to be in the best interest of the Packers if he's so unhappy to try to get some value and get rid of him and move on and play Jordan Love. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But the draft was last Thursday, and we got to recap it, and we'll start with the first round. And obviously we knew what the first two picks were going to be with Lawrence and Wilson. We knew that was going to happen. The draft began at 3. And there was a little bit of a surprise because a lot of people thought the 49ers were going to take Mac Jones, but Kyle Shanahan, who wanted Mac Jones, listened to John Lynch, listened to his personnel, and took Trey Lance. And I think I think for them, that's the better move. I think he's the more mobile quarterback. I think he's got the better arm, and I think he's got the better upside. And if he sits there and learns under Jimmy G, I think he could be a really, really good player, especially in Kyle Shanahan's system. Looking at some of the other guys that were drafted too, at number 4, the Falcons, they went with the best player available, the player that's probably get the slam dunk in this draft, Kyle Pitts. The Bengals, instead of going with the tackle, they ended up going with Jamar Chase to have that chemistry between Joe Burrow and and Jamar Chase. So that's what they decided to do there. Let me think.
Then Jalen Waddle went 6.
Jalen Waddle for the Dolphins. You got Jalen Waddle there. Obviously, the Lions end up taking Sewell, and then the Panthers. The Panthers ended up they got J.C. Horn to upgrade their corner position, and then the thing that was kind of a head scratcher was the Eagles trading up with the Cowboys, and the Eagles, because the Giants wanted Devontae Smith.
Oh yeah,
that was the move. That's who they wanted, and the Eagles ended up getting Devontae Smith, putting Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith together. So you got a couple guys who played together in college. You got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. You got Tua and Jalen Waddle, and you got Jalen Hurts, and you got Devontae Smith. So you got three quarterbacks that played with their receivers in college. So that was interesting there. And then looking at the Giants, where they were going to go to 11, and they probably felt at 11 that they really wasn't a guy they wanted to take there. I thought it could have been Micah Parsons or Rashawn Slater, but they chose not to do that. They chose to trade down with the Bears, and I like what the Bears did. I think Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy could have saved their jobs to draft Justin Fields. And I don't want to hear the BS about Justin Fields not playing right away. I think he's going to be the day one starter. Ryan Pace, it might not be the best thing for Justin Fields, but Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy's jobs are on the line. I think they got to start Justin Fields day one. So I think he would be the day one starter. And then your team, they got the quarterback, which I'm not that high on, to be honest. I'm not that high on him going to New England. Honestly, I think this is a league where you need to have mobility. And this Mac Jones has not proven that he can play from behind. So if you're playing a game against the Bills, you're playing a game against the Dolphins, where you're down 2 scores, and he's got to bring you back from 2 scores down. I just don't feel like Mac Jones is that guy. I felt like Justin Fields could have been that guy. I felt like he was the guy with the big arm. I thought he was the guy who could, who could push the ball down the field. I just don't think Mac Jones is that guy. So the Patriots, I think they got the guy with the least upside in the draft. Yeah, he may end up being better. It may end up being better than Zach Wilson, because Zach Wilson's in a better situation. He may end up being better than Trey Lance, because Trey Lance is raw. But I think, in my opinion, Mac Jones is going to be the worst quarterback in this draft, and I think that's what the Patriots ended up doing. If I was the Patriots, I would have traded up to go get Justin Fields. So, Justin, what are your thoughts on the first 15 picks of the draft?
Yeah, obviously 1 and 2 were most obvious ones. Trey Lance was, kind of a surprise, because everyone thought it was Mac Jones, but yeah, obviously it's going to help Trey Lance to kind of learn, get some experience under Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, he's mobile, accurate. He doesn't turn the football over, so that we'll see how that ends up working out in the Bay. Kyle Pitts, I think, yeah, it's definitely the lock here. As a tight end that's 6'6", they can run like a wide receiver. With all these weapons too that Atlanta has, they should be able to put up, 4 touchdowns easily every Sunday afternoon. He should be fun to watch. Jamar Chase, I heard Joe Burrow texted Jamar Chase Wednesday morning saying, "Pack your bag, you're coming to Cincy."
Joe Burrow had input, and that's another reason you got to give your quarterback input these days. Joe Burrow had input with what he wanted. Yeah, if he gets hurt again, it's kind of on him, because that's what he wanted. And Jace puts a comment now. Zach Wilson is in a great situation. I love what the Jets did. The whole left side is steered up with Becton and I think the Jets. No, I think Joe Douglas. Right now, it looks like Joe Douglas did a really good job. Seeing these guys' projections, like getting Elijah Moore, trading up for Vieira Tucker. I think Zach Wilson is definitely. Here's the one thing I'll say: Zach Wilson is definitely has a much better chance to succeed than Sam Darnold, the way they've set things up for him.
Oh yeah, 100%. Again, it wasn't fair what they did to Darnold with obviously Adam Gase was awful. His OC from under Tom Bowles, his first year is nowhere. He's not even in the league anymore. Yeah, they didn't really do much at all to try to help Sam Darnold his 3 years. And yeah, Zach Wilson, they gave him some weapons. I love Elijah Moore coming out of Ole Miss. Corey Davis is, I think they signed him for like 1 or 2 years, and he's solid. I know he's not the greatest number one, but he's better than what they've had the last years. And then Michael Carter as well out of the backfield, because they desperately need a running back as well. So yeah, I thought the Jets had a really, really good draft, and I know that's kind of Joe Douglas' specialty, is being able to draft. So this class comes together like they should. The Jets are not going to be as bad as they've been the last few years, I feel like.
It's all going to come down to Zach Wilson. It's all going to come down to Zach Wilson. Can Zach Wilson play? I mean, I think a lot of guys love him because of, he's so – and the biggest thing why people love Zach Wilson is his accuracy under pressure. And in this NFL where offensive lines are just not as good as they used to be, you have to be good under pressure. You got to be able to extend plays. And to go to your quarterback, that's the problem with your quarterback. I think your quarterback has going to have a problem. And I know he has a good offensive line and a good running game. I think that's going to help him early on. But – the problem that he's got to be able to extend plays because it's going to be so hard to become Tom Brady at the line of scrimmage. It's going to be so hard. You're just the thing is you're just not going to have the confidence. He's not going to be able to succeed under pressure, and he's going to be under pressure. And I just think, if I'm the Patriots, I would have taken Justin Fields there. I just don't. I think Mac Jones. I think the best place would have been San Francisco because he would have been in the best offensive scheme. I think New England. They have a good scheme. It's not Kyle Shanahan. The big reason why the Patriots had all the success offensively is not because of their system offensively. It was because they had the greatest quarterback to ever do it for so long. Belichick is not an offensive head coach. He's a defensive head coach. Belichick doesn't make quarterbacks great. You saw that last year with Cam Newton. Cam Newton looked absolutely terrible at times under Bill Belichick. So I don't think it's the system in New England. I think it was Tom Brady in New England. And I think more with a team like the 49ers, I feel like it's more of the system than it is the player. But in New England, it was more of the player. So that's why I'm just not high on Mac Jones. And I think out of these 5 quarterbacks, I think he's going to be the worst guy.
I'm excited for Mac Jones. I really am.
Of course.
Now, what I was reading, it was Mac Jones all along. They just kind of used a smoke screen for Justin Fields.
Bill,
yeah.
Bill's
always wanted Mac.
I think Bill should have decided to trade up there and get Justin Fields, in my opinion. But he always wanted Mac because they could run what McDaniels wants to do. But McDaniels, he's a very good OC. He's not Kyle Shanahan. Okay, he's not.
No, he's not. Yeah, no, he's not an offense. He runs a good offense, but it's not like Shanahan
or Sean Payton or Andy Reid. He's not one of those 3 guys.
No, and if he was, he'd have a head coaching job again. I know he's had the chance. I know he's turned it down. I know it's kind of sounds like he's a coach in waiting, but he's had other opportunities. But look, I know Mac Jones doesn't fit today's NFL type of, the quarterback nowadays. Obviously he's not going to be no Tom Brady under center, with the reads or, or before the snap. He's obviously he's going to be nowhere near Tom Brady. And I don't think anybody will ever reach Tom Brady's level ever again.
Before the snap of the ball, him or Peyton Manning, no way. No way. No one will ever do that.
No, there's no way. And especially all these mobile guys now too coming up. And with our running game, with our line, again, I think he's going to struggle until we get some more weapons because Nelson Aguilar is not a number 1. Kendrick Bourne's not a number 2. He's not a good enough number 2.
I mean, you spent a lot of money. You spent a lot of money on decent players, but not great players. There's a reason, Nelson Aguilar's a free agent. There's a reason Hunter Henry's a free agent. There's a reason Jonas Smith's a free agent. There's a reason those guys are free agents. They are better than what you had last year, but they're not. None of them are guys you have to game plan for.
No, and that's a problem. And I think I think if they can give them some more guys, I like our running back room what we have. But
Damian Harris had a good year last year. I agree.
Yeah. He did,
Bill is going to use a fullback. He's going to want to run the ball. Bills and Josh are going to use a fullback in that offense.
Yep, they're really the only team nowadays.
The Ravens and the Niners.
The Ravens use one too. Yeah.
They drafted the kid They actually drafted the kid from Newtown in the 5th round. Ben Mason.
Yes, he did. They did. The Patriots' number 1 and 2 receivers are. He's probably
How they were built in kind of very similar how they were built in 2010 with Gronk and Hernandez. Even though I don't think those guys are even close to as good as Gronk and Hernandez. Similar how they were built in 2010.
And that's kind of when their offense was. I miss those days of the 2 tight end set that they had. Last year was not great.
It'll be a lot they'll play a lot of 12 personnel with the 2 tight ends and run the football. That's going to be what they're going to do on offense this year.
Yeah, and I think that does fit Mac Jones, but yes, I do have concerns if they do fall behind, they have to throw the ball. That's when I do have concerns. I hope with McDaniels, again, even having Cam in that room, I hope they can work on him with that. I hope I don't think he's going to be our day 1 starter. I think Cam's going to probably start the first few weeks, but I like him coming from Saban. He was in I obviously coming from Alabama, he's a winner. Now coming to New England, a franchise that has won a lot the last 20 years. Again, he kind of knows he knows how to perform in kind of the bright lights and all that. So I think he's going to do better than some of the other Alabama quarterbacks have been drafted, like the McCarrons, the John Parker Wilson, Greg McElroy. I think he's going to do better than those guys. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be, top 5, maybe not even top 10, maybe borderline top 10. I'm hoping, top 15, somewhere around there. I'm thinking probably where he's going to peak at.
Yeah, I think top 15. But with your coaching staff, I think that could be good enough to compete for a championship if he is top 15. I don't honestly, I don't even think he's going to be top 15. I think he's going to be, average to below average. But with your staff, if he ends up, if I end up being wrong and he ends up being a top 10, top 15 quarterback, that's still good enough to, to compete with how good your coaching staff is, because your coaching staff is going to steal a game or two every year. That's the thing. But now this leads me. We were talking about Cam and we're talking about Mac Jones. This leads me to this question. You watched a ton of Cam Newton last year. You watched probably every snap of Cam Newton. When do you think Mac Jones is going to take the job from him? What week? As a Patriot fan, what week do you think that Mac Jones is going to take the job from him?
So I think it's either going to be after the bye week. I know we'll find out next weekend, or if they have like a late bye, like a week 10, 11, somewhere around there. I think it'd be like week 7 or 8. Like I think he takes over around the halfway point, unless it can't come down. He looks like he did the first 2 weeks, which again, I don't think there's any way we'd see that performance again. But I think it's something like they did with Fitzpatrick and Tua last year. I think, till the bye, and then it's Mac Jones. If Cam's really struggling, especially if it's like where the defense is playing well and they're just losing games like 20-17 and they just can't get it done, I'd rather see Mac Jones. But I think for the first few weeks, they're probably gonna give Cam Newton some opportunities.
Absolutely. I think Cam will start the season. I could see it being as early as week 3. I could see if they start 0-2, I think Mac Jones is in. I think because they're not going to afford to start 0-3 because it's so tough to make the playoffs at 0-3. I think if they get off to a really slow start, like an 0-2 start, I can see Mac Jones being the starter in week 3. Now, obviously, we'll see the schedule next week, and we'll be definitely discussing the schedule next week. Unfortunately, won't come out after our show, but we'll discuss the opponents. But yeah, I could see, if they start, 0-2, I can see Mac Jones be on the field in week 3. And I see every quarterback, I will guarantee you this, every quarterback outside, and here's a comment from Jace. It will be a Tyrod Herbert situation. Cam will get injured, hopefully not by the training staff, and Mac Jones will take over. Yeah, I mean,
I can see something like that too.
Yeah, it could be similar. It could be similar. I think, but in my opinion, I think if Cam plays poorly the first 2 weeks, I think Mac Jones is in. And here's the thing with every quarterback, there's a guarantee outside of Trey Lance, every quarterback will step on the field next year. That's a guarantee. I think every quarterback will step on the field. Obviously, Lawrence and Wilson will be day 1 starters. Justin Fields should be the day 1 starter in Chicago. And Mac Jones, we'll see what ends up happening, but I think he gets on the field. I think he definitely plays at least half the games for the Patriots next year. And even Trey Lance, because Jimmy Garoppolo has gotten hurt so many times. But if Garoppolo stays healthy, I think he's good enough to keep Lance off the field for this year. But obviously, Lance will be the Niner starter in 2022. And so now we'll talk about the quarterbacks. Assuming that Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback in class. That's what I'm assuming. I feel like you're assuming the same.
Yeah.
The same. Who do you think is going to be the second best quarterback in the class? I think it's going to be Trey Lance because of where he went to, because of the system with Kyle Shanahan, because of the running game, because of his athleticism, because of his arm strength. It was close for me between Fields and Lance, but just because of the coaching and the situation and the roster that Trey Lance has around him, I'm going to go with Trey Lance to be being that second best quarterback. Who do you got being the second best quarterback in the class?
I have Justin Fields. It was close to between him and Lance and Wilson. I was thinking Wilson could maybe be that guy. And I know Justin Fields is not going to the best situation in Chicago with that offensive line. I know he could scramble, but still that offensive line was putrid. I know they don't have much weapons. I do, I like Desi Newsome. Maybe he could be like that last year's Darnell Mooney for him, but I know they don't have a lot right now, but their defense is good. Again, I know because he's got to get a little bit I thought he got better against the pressure last year as the season went on. Like that game against Clemson, again, after that injury, he was unbelievable. I know he struggled in the Alabama game, but this is a guy that really has a chip on his shoulder, and I think he's Chicago's first time like they've had a franchise quarterback since like the 80s. I'm like, unless you really want to say Jay Cutler, again, obviously
maybe Jim McMahon. Jim McMahon would be, but Jim McMahon wasn't great either. Jim McMahon was carried by that defense. He was carried by Walter Payton. So if you could argue maybe Jim McMahon because he won a Super Bowl, but this may be the first franchise quarterback the Bears have had in forever.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it will be. And I think he's the one that's going to be able to do it. Look, I thought the Bears, just because they got Fields, I thought it was the Bears that, had one of the best drafts to be able to get him. Right now I know they say he's quarterback 3, and with Dalton and Foles, I think they're going to struggle just because they're not mobile. I think Fields could have a little bit more success off the bat because he can run a little bit. Obviously he can't take a million hits, which he may next year, but I think Fields has a lot of potential. I don't think he's going to shy away, and I love to watch him at Ohio State, and I think I know a lot of people say, well, he went to Ohio State.
Justin Field could not step on the field until 2023, and he'll still. That's a funny one. That's a funny one. Yeah, you're probably right about that. He's definitely right about that one.
Yeah, he probably is, but I think he's gonna. I think he's gonna have I think he could have a really good career in Chicago or wherever he goes. I think he's a one here because look, with the Bears defense too right now, he doesn't need to put up 30 points. As long as he can get 24, 20, somewhere around there, I think they can win games, and I think he'd be good enough to help them win games early on.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the Bears don't have the greatest roster, but they do have a good defense, and David Montgomery came on, and Allen Robinson had a really good year. So I think, in that division, if Aaron Rodgers goes, it's wide open. So if I'm Matt Nagy and I'm Ryan Pace, I'm playing Justin Fields right away because you're not winning anything with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is not – he put up some numbers in Dallas late in the season, but he's a below-average quarterback right now, and I'm not playing Andy Dalton. I'm playing Justin Fields right away because I feel like Justin Fields gives you the best chance to win right now. And Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace need a guy that's going to give them the best chance to win right now, and I think that's Justin Fields. And the way I see these quarterbacks, I think Trevor Lawrence has the potential of being top 5. I think the other 4 have potential to be top 10 depending on their situation. I love the situation Trey Lance is in. Obviously Justin Fields, I think, has a very good chance of being top 10. Zach Wilson, I just don't trust the Jets organization yet, but I think he could be because I feel like the Jets have made some good moves, but we're not sure yet if those Jets moves are going to pan out. And the guy I have the lowest ceiling for is Mac Jones, just because, not mobile, not the greatest arm. He's got the best coaching staff. I mean, overall coaching staff in the league, in my opinion. Not the best offensive coaching staff. That's San Francisco. That's New Orleans. But I think he's got the best coaching staff in the league. So I think he could be okay. But I don't know. But he is the guy that I would if one guy doesn't become a franchise quarterback out of this class, to me, it would be Mac Jones.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I think him and Wilson, I think, could be, the lowest ones out of this one, are out of this draft class. I hate to say Mac Jones right now, just because I think all 4 of these guys, because yes, they're all mobile, and I think they could all potentially be top 10. And I think at best, Mac Jones could maybe sneak into the top 10, but obviously you don't see it anymore. You don't see it much anymore, and I don't think there's a lot of young guys going to be able to do it. So I hate to say it, but I think Mac Jones is going to have the lowest ceiling, but I still think he's going to have a good career in New England.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with Mac Jones in New England. Before we talk about the Giants draft pick, first round pick, we'll talk about, the player we think is going to be the sure thing in this draft, and the guy who we think was the biggest reach in this draft. And I think it was pretty obvious. For me, it was Kyle Pitts of the Falcons. I think he's the most sure thing. I think he's going to walk right into the league and be a top 4 tight end with Darren Waller, with George Kittle, and with Travis Kelce. And I think the biggest reach is obviously Alex Leatherwood for the Raiders. I think the Raiders clearly do not know how to draft guys in the first round. I mean, it's proven. Cleveland Ferrell, number 4, Damon Arnett last year, and now this guy Leatherwood in the first round. They have another bad year. I think Mike Mayock and John Gruden need to get fired. I think these guys, they're failing Derek Carr there. These guys do not know how to draft guys in the first round.
Yeah, for me, I think Pitts is the biggest lock. There's a tight end that's going to be this good.
Give me a break, Jace. Please, please. Alex Leatherwood is a beast, but if they swapped first and second round picks, they would give me a break about Alex Leatherwood. Kuiper and McShay were saying he was a mid-second round to third round pick. That's a total reach. Give me a break about that, Jace. Come on now.
That I'll go because I'll say what I have on that second. But with Pitts, I think he's going to be a beast. I think he's going to be one of the top tight ends in the league right away. I think he could win Rookie of the Year, I think he could win Offensive Rookie Player of the Year. He's going to be really, really good. And yeah, the Raiders, I thought Leatherwood was a reach. He's a guy they could have got at 50. They could have drafted Trevor Mourning at number 17. But that's the thing with John Gruden, though. John Gruden wants to outsmart you. John Gruden wants to make that pick. And then in 10, 15 years, he looks like the smartest man in the room. That's what John Gruden wants to do. And the thing is, he's not going to get fired. He's got 6 years left in his contract.
Oh,
it's that 10-year deal.
Shows you how bad that organization is. I mean, thank God they have a legitimate quarterback in Derek Carr, and they had Josh Jacobs, because that organization would be in big trouble if they didn't have those guys, because their defense is absolutely terrible, and they can't draft guys on the defense either.
No, that's been the problem. Yeah, Arnetti last year was the 99th ranked overall prospect. And he didn't have a great year. They reach every year. And
this was an 8-8 team last year. It was very lucky they weren't 6-10. They should have lost the Jets, and they should have lost the Broncos in that last game. I mean, this is a team that showed that they put all their energy into beating Kansas City. I mean, we know that they want to put all their energy into beating Kansas City, but they can't even show up to play the Jets. I mean, that's the problem with this team.
Yeah, that's been the Ravens' problem all these years. They just do not show up in a game they should win. They choke it, but. Yeah, I think that was the biggest reach. I know JT was probably the best offensive line, and with the best offensive line. But
he does not have the NFL upside of being the best offensive lineman. I'm giving that to Penei Sewell.
Yeah,
or Rashawn Slater.
Yeah, one of those two. I like even Jenkins when going to Chicago.
Yeah.
Like they got him late. I think he could be really solid. Again, they need him in Chicago this year, so I think Jenkins could be one of those top guys too.
Yeah. We're going to call a little bit of an audible here. We're going to wait to talk about the Giants pick when we talk about the entire Giants draft. We'll call an audible. We'll move on to the second and third rounds, and we'll first talk about the quarterbacks. Obviously, the last pick of the second round, Kyle Trask was taken by the Bucks. We had Kellen Mond taken by the Vikings. Then we had Davis Mills. That's his name, right?
Yeah, Davis Mills.
Davis Mills taken by the Texans. So, Justin, out of those three quarterbacks, which one of them has the best chance of succeeding out of those three guys taken in the second and third rounds?
It was tough between all three of them for me, but I'm going to go Kellen Mond because I think he's got the athleticism. He's got the NFL arm. He's got the strength. Again, he's developed, I think, under Jimbo Fisher, he got better in the pocket, developing that game. So he can, and he's also very good at awareness too of when the pocket's collapsing on him, when to get rid of the ball, when to take off and run. He's got good awareness of that too. I know right now he's probably not going to play right away with Kirk Cousins, but at some point I would think the Vikings are going to cut loose with him. And I think his style fits the NFL culture nowadays, as we've been talking about, with the running style of the quarterback. And he's also good at fitting in the tight windows too. He's also pretty good at that. So I think it's Kellen Mond that's going to be, out of those three, the one that could have the most success in the NFL.
What does he need to improve on to be a starter in the NFL?
I think the one thing he's got to get a little bit better at is his accuracy a little bit. He had a couple interceptions last year. I know early on he struggled early on in the year with they had so many younger guys that he kind of missed some throws, but I think he got a little bit better throughout the year with that. They just had so many young guys, but if he makes the throws that he needs to, I think he could have good success. It's just a little bit more of the accuracy at times is a little off, but other than that, really it's kind of the biggest kind of thing on him, or biggest kind of flaw for him right now.
And Chase made a comment. If Tom Brady can give Trask a fraction of his pre-snap recognition, Trask will be a quality QB in this league for years. Yeah, I mean, there's nobody better to learn from than Tom Brady. I get that, but I just think Trask in this league. I mean, he had Kadarius Toney and he had Kyle Pitts on his team in college. I just don't know, how successful with his lack of mobility he's going to be in this league. I mean, yes, learning from Tom Brady gives him a chance, but I just don't know how successful Kyle Trask is going to be in this league, not being a mobile quarterback. So we'll keep talking about the second round, and I got a couple questions for you, Justin. There, which player on offense and which player on defense do you think that was taken in the second and the third round is going to be a perennial Pro Bowler?
I think it's going to be Elijah Moore. He can go in 34 to the New York Jets. He's a guy kind of like a Jamison Crowder type, like 5'9". I think early on he's going to be like the third down option for him. Mostly going to play the slot, but also going to kind of play outside. He's just so quick. I think he ran a 4.35 at the Ole Miss Pro Day. And Ole Miss wide receivers last year have had really good success coming in the NFL.
Oh, yeah, DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. The thing, though, is he's a little bit smaller than those two guys.
Yeah, and he's 5'9", somewhere around there. Yeah, so he is small, but he's not afraid to take a hit. And I think, he had that one incident in Ole Miss that in the Egg Bowl a couple of Thanksgivings ago, hit that, touchdown celebration incident. But other than that, he's been phenomenal. He's, worked through that. I know that was something a lot of people kind of beginning of last year were not sure how he was going to handle that. But he was a big part of the Ole Miss offense last year. That was really, really explosive. I think, this is a nice get for Zach Wilson, who could throw the deep ball, and Elijah Moore is a very good deep threat.
Absolutely, absolutely. What about on defense in the second and third round? Who is that perennial Pro Bowler you would say?
I think it's Richie Grant going to Atlanta at 40.
Ooh, that's a surprising one.
Yeah, I think because Atlanta obviously they need help in the secondary, but he's very experienced. He played 3 years as a starter out in UCF. He had 3 interceptions last year, but he can cover the slot. He can also play in the box a bit too. He's going to be the day one starter. He loves to hit. Had a ton of tackles last year at UCF. He likes to get dirty, physically. So I think it was a very smart pick for Atlanta in that secondary, because I think he's going to make a pretty good impression right off the bat.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Going to the fourth and seventh round, I kind of ask the same question, a little bit different though. I'll ask from the day 3 picks, the fourth through the seventh round. Who is a guy a guy on offense and a guy on defense who could be a solid starter, who could for the next 5 years, who could help their team for the next 5 years, like a solid, not a Pro Bowler, but a solid starter?
I have Jabril, also defense side. I'll go Jabril Cox going to Dallas, linebacker. I know they got Micah Parsons as well, linebacker, but he's another guy that mock drafts in the beginning of the year had him going in the first round. Transferring from North Dakota State to LSU, he was one of the bright spots on this defense, on that LSU defense last year that was absolutely atrocious. He played well, and I think he's another guy too. He can play on special teams too, and I think that's something he may do the first few years. But he loves to make the big plays. He's got to work a little bit more, kind of getting quicker of identifying run or the pass, but he's good when he figures it out. He's really good at stuffing the run, and he can even play in coverage a bit too. So I think he's a guy for Dallas that could be a day 3 starter. Could be a steal for the Dallas Cowboys.
Not good for us. That's not good news for us. But that's not good for news for us. And I'm telling you, here's the thing about the Cowboys: if somehow that defense is just like in the middle of the pack, I hate to say it, I think they win the division. If Cox and Parsons pan out as linebackers, and then you got Van Der Esch, you got Jalen Smith, that's a lot of depth at that linebacker position. Even though Van Der Esch and Smith haven't played as well the last couple of years, that's a lot of depth at that linebacker position.
Oh yeah, definitely. For a defense that needs a lot of it, and if they get those guys healthy, they have depth, and with their offense, if their defense gets decent, if Cox and Parsons kind of develop the way they should, I could see Dallas winning 9-10 games and being able to win that division. It's wouldn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, I'm still hanging on to my Giants win the division prediction, but Dallas is going to be right there with them, I think. I think it's going to be a close race right till the end. 9-10 wins. Those two teams are going to be neck and neck right till the end. I think that's a big reason why Dallas didn't mind, trading down with Philadelphia, because I think they feel like Philadelphia is not going to be as good as us. So I think I think Dallas and the Giants will be neck and neck. You got another comment from Jace. You could have Ray Lewis and Brian Lurker as your two main linebackers, but they are still going to get torched through the air. Yeah, a good point by Jace. Yes, their secondary is absolutely pathetic. But having a Cox and having a Parsons is definitely going to help you against the run, which, if a team has to be one-dimensional, that makes it a little bit easier because that you're eliminating play actions. That makes it a little bit easier for your defense to end up rushing four, because they do have a good pass rusher in DeMarcus Lawrence, so it does make it easier if a team doesn't run the ball as well. It does affect an offense's passing game. So if the Cowboys can stop the run, I think that's what Jan Quinn's trying to start to do. Keanu O'Neal, Cox, and Micah Parsons stop the run first, and then work on getting the secondary being better. So I think the Cowboys' focus is stopping the run this year.
Yeah, it's got it, because they were absolutely atrocious in that last year, and then it just opened up play action and just again they made any offense last year look like the Super Bowl contender. It was bad. So yeah, if they can stop the run and kind of force teams to be one-dimensional, they definitely do have a better shot. This year, especially if Dax is healthy with that offense, they should have no problem again scoring points.
Absolutely, absolutely. So who's your offensive player from that round who could be a solid starter?
I have going in the 6th round Marquise Stevenson, going from Buffalo, or played at Houston. He's going to Buffalo. Former college roommates with Ed Oliver. So renamed with him.
And they need a running. They need a running game. They definitely need a running game. Buffalo. I mean, because Moss and Singletary. I know that Dable didn't run the ball a lot last year, but Moss and Singletary weren't cutting it.
No, they weren't. And Stevenson, he's a great return guy too, and he's another big play guy. Like, he had 10 catches last year, 50 yards or more, and 3 catches, 70 yards or more back in 2019. He had 27 total touchdowns, receiving, rushing, and return. Again, he's a great weapon too, using him in the jet sweep. I feel like he's a guy that could kind of be like an Isaiah McKenzie for him, in the slot. And I think for with Josh Allen, the way Diggs did it, with Diggs, the addition, the deep threats that Buffalo has, he kind of adds to that. He's another deep threat. So I think, if he kind of takes over for McKenzie, I think he can make some big plays. And even special teams wise, I think he can make some special plays if you're not careful.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. So to wrap up the draft, we got to talk about our teams, the Giants and the Patriots. We'll start with the Giants. And, it was a little bit of a surprise they didn't go with an edge rusher after they traded down. They didn't go with Kwity Paye in that spot. But I like Kentavious Toney. I think he's a good slot receiver. I think he's got a lot of speed. He can play special teams. He's very versatile. So I don't mind, trading down, getting that extra first-round pick and getting Toney. I didn't love it at first. A lot of Giants fans didn't love it at first, but I don't mind it. But I really, really like the second-round pick, getting Ojulari, getting Ajee, and Jace, you can correct me if I'm saying the name right, Ajee Ojulari out of Georgia. I think this guy could be really, really good. I think he's the edge rusher that could really step up in this Giants defense. I really like that pick. And then if you look at the other picks, 3rd round, they got Aaron Robinson. They got another corner in the 6th down, Rodgers Williams, to improve their depth. And they got Ellerson Smith, another edge rusher, and Gary Brightwell. Chase, Shalari is going to be the defensive rookie of the year. We'll see about that. Of course, Jace Garcia is already high on him. Already high on Shalari already. But yeah, so I'd ask you this. You watch, obviously, Justin. Out of, Ojulari and Toney, who is the other guy that, could be a big impact player, other draft pick? I know don't bring a curve here, but who could be an impact player for the Giants this year out of this draft class?
Yeah, the Giants had a really solid draft. They did. I think Ederson G. Smith coming out of Northern Iowa. Yes, I know, again, competition may have not been the greatest in Northern Iowa, but this is a guy last year that back in 2019, obviously, because FCS didn't have a spring season. He had 14 sacks, I think, in 12 or 11 games. He knows how to get to he's a very good pass rusher. He knows how to find the ball. He knows how to get to the quarterback. I thought maybe they go line there with how many offensive linemen they have left. But I think he's a guy, if you can add some more weight onto him. Again, he's big. He's 6'7", 245. Again, I think he's a guy that could develop, gets a bigger frame. I think this guy could be a really impact player in another year or two. You give him some time to kind of to develop, like most of these day 3 guys kind of have to do. I think he could be a very I think he could be a very nice day 3 pick for the Giants.
He can be. And you made a great point about the offensive line. I was surprised with that, too. The Giants didn't take any offensive linemen in this draft. Seeing that, according to some people don't think Pro Football Focus is right all the time, but according to Pro Football Focus, at the end of the season, this offensive line was ranked 31st in the league, and they didn't take any offensive linemen. And now Gettleman's claiming that the O-line's better than you think, and he probably wants some of these young guys to figure it out. He probably wants the Andrew Thomases, the Matt Perts, the Will Hernandezes, the Shane Lemieux, and the Nick Gates. He wants this O-line to figure it out and make an improvement. But they didn't add much to this offensive line. That is definitely the biggest concern for the Giants going into the season. Because if this offensive line is really bad, this offense is going to struggle. I mean, I know they have a lot of weapons, but I'm not asking for the offensive line to be, I'm not asking them to build a wall around Daniel Jones. But I at least expect average offensive line play. And I think with average offensive line play, this offense could be pretty good. But if they have terrible offensive line play, it's going to affect their offense.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Especially if you play Washington, a team that's got great pass rushers. Again, that could be a very long day if the offensive line, can't get much done against them. It's a little bit of a worry. Correct me if I'm wrong too, but don't they get
of course. We say, yeah, they got Soldier back too. Yeah, they got Soldier back too. And of course, Jace brings up an undrafted free agent from Baylor. Is a solid. Is this a solid guy? Do you know anything about Jake Burton? I've never heard of Jake Burton in my life. So
I've heard of him. I don't remember. I didn't watch too much Baylor football.
It's crazy how you and Justin know all these college football, and you and Jace know all these college football players. I've never heard of Jake Burton in my life, but Jace says he's solid. He's watched a lot of Jake Burton. I haven't watched a lot of Jake Burton, so hopefully Jake Burton could add to the depth in this offensive line. Hopefully, as a fan, I hope that.
Yeah. Hopefully he can. I didn't watch too much Baylor football because they didn't have much of an offensive line last year. They didn't have much of an offense last year, but. Sometimes some of those undrafted guys, it's just a depth piece, and you kind of hope you don't ever really have to use them, but could come in handy. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. We'll see. The Giants, this has to be a good draft for Dave Gettleman. This has to be a good season for Dave Gettleman, or he will be shown the door. He will be fired after this season. They're under 500. He's getting shown the door, and so is Daniel Jones. So I hope the Giants had a good draft as a fan. Now we'll move on to the Patriots, and obviously we've talked about Mac Jones. But the question I got for you, Justin, and I know you've watched a lot of these guys, probably because they were drafted by the Patriots, you probably studied some of these guys. Outside of I think they had about 6 or 7 picks between the 2nd and 7th round. I'd say we'll pick 2 guys. Who are 2 guys you think that are going to make a big contribution to this team this year?
I think starting the 3rd, starting with Ronnie Perkins. I'm really excited. I know we have some depth at the edge. I know we do, but this is a guy too that can, Alex Grinch at OU last year moved him around at different spots. And again, Bill Belichick loves to do that. Bill loves to, kind of throw you, tries to confuse the offense. He's old school. Edge guy. He's a stand-up rusher. He cannot get his hand down and be able to rush the quarterback.
He'll be used for situations when they play a 4-3. He'll probably be a situational pass rusher then, I think, in my opinion.
What they kind of do with a Chase Winovich the last few years could be used in that way. Yeah, like a 3rd down type of guy. But he's quick. He's powerful. Again, I think he's going to fit this New England defense. And another guy that I thought was going to go higher up. So I'm happy we were able to steal him. The second one was a tough one going, with Bledsoe, Sherman, and Nixon. I know because of the way Michael Onsu, the offensive lineman last year, kind of really came out of nowhere for him last year. But I'm gonna go with Bledsoe out of Missouri. I know, because he's gonna be buried down in the depth chart as a safety. Because I know we're deep at that spot. But he's a guy that can play all over. He can play in the box. He can stick. He can handle wide receivers and tight ends down in the middle of the field. He's quick enough. So he's a guy that you can, and he's pretty good at cover safety as well. So another guy he can kind of run, you can place him anywhere. He can play a little bit in the box too. So, and Bill loves safeties that can play in the box. So I think maybe not going to play a ton early, but I think if the Patriots stick with him and get, and kind of time moves on here and he gets a shot, I think he could really help out this defense.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there, and it'll be interesting. Both big drafts for the Giants and Patriots because both these teams needed to improve their rosters from what happened last year. Both these teams had losing seasons. They both need to improve their roster. This is why Tom Brady left New England because the Patriots roster wasn't good enough. Patriots need to improve their roster. This is a huge draft for Bill Belichick, and if Belichick wants to still be here in the next 3 to 4 years, he's got to hit on this draft, and Mac Jones has got to be the guy. It's as simple as that. But we're going to shift over to the NBA. But before that, I don't know if Jason's ready for a promo, but because we could go without it. But before that, we have a promo from Clovercrest Media.
Attention all basketball fans. CMG Sports presents the Posting Up Podcast, where Lucas Boldick, Sean Scanlon, and King Zay discuss the latest news and topics throughout the NBA. So, if you have a love for basketball, make sure you check out the Posting Up Podcast, live every Tuesday and Saturday on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Also available for download on every podcast platform.
That is the Posting Up Podcast with Lucas, Jace, and Sean. Make sure you get Lucas, Lucas, Zay, Sean, and Jace. Jace, the producer. So make sure you guys check that out every Tuesday and Saturday, and they'll talk about all the stories in the NBA. So make sure you guys check that out every Tuesday and Saturday. And the big story in the NBA right now is LeBron James. He came back, against the Kings on Friday night, and he came back against the Raptors on Sunday. But he was rushed back. He rushed him back from that ankle injury, and in my opinion, he's going to miss the next two games against huge games at the Clippers and at the Blazers. The next 2 weeks, their next two games. So he's going to miss the next 2 games. So, I think he's going to be out for the rest of the season. And in my opinion, look at the schedule. I think the Lakers are playing in the play-in tournament. Look at the Lakers schedule. If you look at their schedule, they got at the Clippers. I think that's a loss. They got at the Blazers. I think that's a loss. They got Phoenix. I think that's a loss. The Knicks, questionable, but I think that's a loss. At Houston, they'll probably win that. And then at Indiana and at New Orleans, they got a tough schedule. I could very, very easily see them in their next 7 games going 1-6 and getting that number 7 seed. And LeBron James saying, "Oh, the play-in tournament's stupid. The play-in tournament's stupid." You're in that position. Yeah. It's the most. I think it's the most fair way things could happen this year in a pandemic year. If you get the number 7 seed, that's what's going to happen. So I think right now the Lakers, they're not. I know they won the other night against the Nuggets, but they're not. But they're not playing well without LeBron. They're going to be without Dennis Schroeder too. Right now, I think the Lakers are going to be the number 7 seed. Right now, I got them as the 7 seed. I think they finish the season playing in this play-in tournament. I think we see them next week in 2 weeks in the play-in tournament.
I'm with you, and I watched a lot of that game Friday night when they played the Kings, and they were not very good at all. And granted, too, De'Aaron Fox did not play Friday night for the Kings. Or Harrison Barnes are pretty much arguably the 2 best players, and they still cannot knock off the Kings that are tanking right now. So, yeah, that was very concerning. Yeah, they were, because he played 30. I was surprised how many minutes he played. I figured they would ease him LeBron back into it. They didn't. Schroeder's out for 2 weeks. Like, he's not expected back till May 19th. And Jason's comment.
Oh yeah. I respect LeBron. He praises it when it's because he thinks he's going to be the 1 or 2 seed. But now that he's going to be the 7 seed, he says it's a guy's got to get fired for his idea. LeBron, decide. Do you like it or not? Stop being a hypocrite. Decide. Do you like it or not? Just doesn't matter what situation your team is in. Do you like it or not? I think you're being a hypocrite saying that now someone needs to be fired for coming up with it.
Yeah, that's like the Mavericks. Mark Cuban voted to have the play-in tournament, and he's him and Luka were complaining about it a few weeks ago when we were talking about it. So yeah, these guys, I mean, you don't want to, you got to think there's maybe a small chance we may have to play in it. So if I don't want it, let's not vote for it. But yeah, I'm very concerned with the Lakers. Look, their defense is they beat the Nuggets the other night without Murray, but they won 93-89. When team's best player is out there and it's not a center, that again, it's going to be very tough to win a 93-89 game, and it's not going to get it done. They're not playing well. Drummond has getting in foul trouble. Again, if he's in there, he can get you 20, but again, if he gets in foul trouble, the other night he played 20 minutes and got 4 points. Like, that's not going to cut it.
He gets you in foul trouble, and he needs 10 field goals to get you 20 points, and this is why I say it all the time. It's very hard to win an NBA championship with a center as your best player because they don't take as many perimeter. They don't take as many threes. And in this NBA, you got to take 3-point shots to be successful. So That's why, we, even Anthony Davis, I would not honestly, I think you could argue Anthony Davis right now might not be a top 10 player in this league, because with him being the best player, the team is just not as good. I mean, LeBron James is clearly without LeBron James, this team, they won the other night, but without LeBron James, this team is clearly nowhere near as good.
No, they're just stagnant on offense. They're just, again, I think 2 nights ago, Marc Gasol, I was shocked. Gave you like 10, 8, and like 6 or whatever. I was very surprised with that. But yeah, it's like Kuzma's just gone south ever since his rookie year. He just or after his like sophomore year, it just like first 2 years he averaged like 18 points. Now it's down to like 12. It's again they need him to put up 20, and he hasn't been able to do it since. And talking about Schroeder too, Schroeder's probably out like the playing game too, I think, because May 19th is when he's able to come back from COVID, I believe. So. Yeah, it's
and Jay's makes a good point. Plus minus -40. To me, I hate to say this, I think Anthony Davis is overrated. I'm sorry, I think he is. I think saw him in New Orleans. He won 1 playoff series. I mean, he doesn't really handle the ball that much. Yes, he can shoot threes as a 4, but I think let me tell you, I'm taking. When you look at, I'm taking Luka over him. I'm taking Dame Lillard over him. I'm probably taking Embiid and Jokic over him. I'm sorry, you could argue. Let's go through the league. Let's see if he's a top. Like which players would you take over AD? I take obviously you take LeBron, Curry, Durant. You take Harden. You take Giannis. You definitely taking Doncic. You're definitely and let me know if I'm missing anybody. You're definitely taking Doncic over him. You're definitely taking Kawhi over him. Putting Kawhi over him any day of the week. You're taking Lillard over him. You're taking Jokic. You're taking Embiid over him. That's probably 10. I don't know. Jace you can count it if you want, but like that's probably 10 guys you're taking over AD. I'd honestly say right now, AD's not a top 10 player in the league, and it's been proven since LeBron's been out that he's not played. He's not been carrying that team.
No, yeah, and then this year from 3, he's struggling. He's like 26%. He's like 22 for like 86 this year from 3. He's not even shooting well.
And that's useless.
I would even say I would take Julius Randle right now over Anthony Davis. The way Randle's been playing?
I wouldn't go that far. I know Randle's playing great, but I wouldn't go that far yet.
Yeah, but the way he's been.
I know. Hey, you got a point. You got a point there. You got a point.
I mean, I'm like, because I think the Lakers still all around, right? Even with LeBron out, still have a better overall team than Knicks do. But
yeah,
the way Randle is playing there. But yeah, again, I am very worried about the Lakers. And being a Kings fan, I would love to see the Lakers be in the 7th spot and get knocked out in the play, and that'd be great.
Yeah, Kings cannot stand the Lakers. It goes right back. It goes right back to that 0-2 series. That's another story for another day. But yeah, it goes right back to that series in 0-2. But yeah, as Jace just made a comment, Jace saying it. Yeah, right now I take Randle over AD. I just wouldn't go that far yet. But I think this year you could argue Randle's played as well, or maybe better than AD. So hey, you guys got a point about that. If you're, especially in today's NBA, you got to be able to shoot threes. I don't care how great you are defensively. You got to be able to shoot threes, and you got to score points and shoot threes. And Randle's done that, and AD hasn't done it that well this year, and that's why the Lakers very easily could be the 7th seed.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I have them as a 7th seed right now. They just, again, unless it's somebody steps up with, again, Kuzma's able to do it. He just hasn't been able to show it to I don't know what it is, but. Yeah, I see him lose the next 2, and I see Portland being able to jump them. And you're talking about the schedule. The way the Knicks are playing, I don't think they're beating the Knicks. The Suns are still battling for the 1 seed. They're not going to lose the Lakers right now. Because even if LeBron does come back in the next 2 games, he didn't look great Friday night, and I don't expect him to look much better just because he gave him another week off. Like I don't know if he's and I think he said Saturday. He's like, I don't think I'm ever going to be 100% healthy again. And his comments were on Saturday. Like. I'm very worried about LeBron and Lakers right now.
You have to be. You definitely have to be worried about the Lakers right now. Looking at the teams that I think go ahead of them, I think the Mavs. I think the Mavericks get the number 5 seed. The good part of the Mavericks is they don't have to see the Kings for the rest of the season, because the Kings beat them 3 times. For some reason, they could not beat the Kings. The Kings own them and 2 of those games out to Aaron Fox. So at some reason, the Kings just own them.
Yeah, you can't, because even Sunday they didn't even have Halliburton. Or Barnes.
Halliburton got hurt during the game, but yeah. Barnes,
yes, he got hurt during the game. Yeah.
Yeah,
but we got Barnes either. I couldn't explain it, but
but look at the Mavs schedule. They got Brooklyn. I think they lose that. They got Cleveland. I think they'll win both those 2 games. Memphis go either way, and I think they beat New Orleans, they beat Toronto, they beat Minnesota. I think the Mavs wind up with the 5 seed, and I'm telling you one thing. If they get the Nuggets, if they get in that bracket, they avoid playing the Lakers or the Clippers before the conference finals, I think this Mavs team gets to the conference finals the way Luka's playing and the way Tim Hardaway's playing. Tim Hardaway's been red hot lately. He hit 10 threes, tied a franchise record last night against the Miami Heat.
So, yeah, they can get that from Tim Hardaway, or at least 7 or 8 from Tim Hardaway a night.
And Porzingis has been out too. I know it's no surprise Porzingis is out. You can't count on him, but say they get Porzingis, Hardaway, and Luka going, this team could very easily, I wouldn't be surprised with Rick Carlisle that they get to the conference finals.
No, I wouldn't try me either. It's the thing about the Mavs this year. It's just they've been so inconsistent. We talk about the Kings. They didn't show up in any 3 of those games till the fourth quarter. They didn't really care. For most of these kind of teams that they should beat, they really haven't shown up. But obviously for the playoffs, you'd hope they show up. I think for the rest of the season, you hope. I know they have a big game tomorrow night against the Nets at home. You would, it's a big one. But yeah, I could see them as a 5. It's a dangerous team, especially Especially if they can get Porzingis back, which I think it's game time decision right now, last I looked, but on Thursday. But obviously, if he can stay healthy, this team made the run last year. They could really do it again. I know the Jazz are right there in the Suns, but those are 2 teams that don't have a.
Think about the Jazz and Suns
in the playoffs.
Yeah, Jazz have experience. Suns have no playoff experience, and the thing is either game. Say you get them in the conference semifinals, either of those 2 series. Mavericks got the best player in the series in Luka Doncic.
No, they do. I'm sorry, Jay. I'd love to take – I'm rooting for the Jazz to make a run here. But, yeah, I think right now Luka Doncic, right, again, if he's not complaining, not getting technicals, he's at any given night, he's the best player on the floor.
He's got to watch it. One more and he gets a suspension. But, yeah, I mean, if they play the Jazz, they play the Suns in a series, they have the best player in that series. I don't care how many times the Jazz beat them this year. I don't care how many times the Suns beat them this year. Luka Doncic is better than Devin Booker, and Luka Doncic is better than Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, he is right now. If he's on his game, he is. And, we saw it last year in the playoffs. He was terrific, and I definitely could see Dallas here making a run at things. And, yeah, with Nuggets being the 4 when Murray hurt, with Doncic, I could see easily taking over that series, and then easily, too, in the semifinals.
Absolutely. So we'll look at Portland, too. I think Portland obviously gets the 6. I think they beat the Cavs tonight. They beat the Lakers. That's a big game against the Lakers. Huge game against the Lakers Friday night. And that's a huge game. Then I think they beat San Antonio, beat Houston. Then they got Utah and Phoenix. I think they lose those 2, but I think they end up beating Denver in the last game. I think they wind up with the 6. I think we have it the same. I think we got Mavericks 5, we got Blazers 6, and we got Lakers 7.
Yeah, I got Blazers 6. Yeah, because I got them beating the Lakers on Friday night, the Blazers, and their schedule's not hard, but you would hope by then, or the Jazz could already maybe have their position kind of settled, and the Suns, and the Nuggets. So yeah, you could kind of, if all 3 of those teams are already clinched and their spots are kind of finalized there, I could see Trailblazers win all 3 of those, and they got McCollum back now with Lillard. Again, Norman Powell. He's been up and down, but the last few games he's been playing really well. So, yeah, I could see the Trailblazers getting that 6 seed.
Absolutely. Well, we'll shift to the Eastern Conference, and we had 2 matchups on Sunday and last night with the Bucks and the Nets, and the Bucks won them both. Giannis was outstanding in both those games. Giannis dropped he dropped 49 on Sunday and 36 last night. And here's the big thing. He hit 4 threes on Sunday, and he hit 4 threes on last night. And that's the thing he's going to have to do if they're going to beat the Nets. If the Nets are fully healthy, he's going to have to do that. He's going to have to shoot threes because that's been his problem over the years. He hasn't been able to shoot threes. That's the one thing that's missing from his game is his three-point shot. That's the one weakness of his game. He's great at going to the hoop. His defense is outstanding. But the three-point shooting is the issue with Giannis. And if Giannis can shoot threes, that would give them a chance to beat the Nets if they're fully healthy. But I think the problem is he's not going to be great from three-point range if they play in the playoffs. And I think he's going to regret signing that long-term deal with the Bucks because he's going to see the fact that the Nets' third-best player is clearly better than his second-best player. And that's why if they're healthy in a 7-game series, there's no way I'm taking the Bucks to beat the Nets just because of the big three.
Yeah, it would be tough. He was impressive the last 2 games. I'd like him to be a little bit more efficient. He was 11 for 33 last night. I would like that to a little bit more fit, but again, they still won. Middleton played well. Dante DiVincenzo had a better second half. He was putrid in the first half, but he ended up with a double-double with 15 assists. I know the Bucks probably aren't going to pass him. I think they're like a half game or game and a half back now, the Nets. But, I know last week, too, they swept the Sixers, but I know they didn't have Embiid wasn't playing. But still, I think for the Bucks, it's been a lack of playoff success for them. And I think that's going to be able to hurt him. But, if Giannis can't – he's 4 for 8 Sunday. Last night he's 4 for 12. But, just hitting 4 threes for him, it's pretty good. So, I don't – see him being able to make too many threes in the playoffs in a big spot against the Nets. I just do not see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, you would like to see him. I mean, you've seen the last couple of years, last year I think was his biggest blown opportunity. I mean, I thought he should have gotten to the finals last year. I mean, the year before he had that 2-0 lead, but he was going up against Kawhi. Last year, I thought, before he got hurt, I thought that was the biggest blown opportunity. Losing those 2 games to the Heat, I felt like that was his year to win the Eastern Conference, and he didn't last year. But I do think that if he continues with 3-point shooting, they have a chance. But I just don't see it against a team like that in a big series. I don't think he's going to shoot enough threes, and I just don't think he has that that second option. I mean, the Nets' third option is clearly better than his second option.
Yeah, it is, and that's the issue. And Harden's probably going to come back very soon, I think so. Yeah, if all 3 of those guys can go in healthy to the playoffs, it's going to be very tough. And then you have a guy like Joe Harris too that he was a really lethal shooter who can, if one of those 3 guys is off one night and not playing, he can get you 25 points himself. So I think that's where too, where the Bucks could struggle. They because I think the Nets have a few guys that can step up one night when some of those guys are out. I don't, Holiday. I know they still have Drew Holiday, but he's not the same. Brook Lopez isn't much anymore. Chris Middleton's a good player, but I just don't know if there's that guy in that lineup or even off the bench that could kind of just give them production. Like double digits. 15, 20 points. How about Giannis? Giannis out. Night in, night out. They don't have that. They don't have that right now.
Absolutely. Yep. That's the reality of the situation for the Bucks. But we'll see what ends up happening in the playoffs. But we had the Astros returning to Yankee Stadium. But before we talk about that, we got a promo from Clovercrest Media.
Looking for a casual baseball podcast to listen to? Well, Baseball with the Bard, presented by Clovercrest Media, has just what you're looking for. Tyler Bard and Noah Cross cover a wide range of happenings in the MLB and then dive into a deep focus on the Red Sox and Yankees. Join us every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for your weekly dose of Baseball with the Bard.
Thank you, Tyler and Noah. Check out Baseball with the Bard every Sunday at 11 o'clock. Make sure you check that out. But last night at Yankee Stadium, the Astros got a reception, and there was no surprise what kind of reception the Houston Astros got. Those Yankee fans did not forget what happened in 2017 and in 2019. They didn't forget at all. And, they gave it to the Astros, the boos. You saw the shirts with the trash cans on them. You saw the shirts with the cheaters on them. They gave the Astros everything that they deserved last night, and it was great. I mean, Aaron Boone said it was a playoff atmosphere. Even Dusty Baker said this was a playoff atmosphere. There were 10,000 people in the stands, but last night it felt like there were 50,000 people with the atmosphere and all the boos the Astros got, and they sure deserve it. I mean, they cheated worse than any team, by far worse than any team has cheated. They completely deserved it. They were the only team, in my opinion, that arguably should have had their championship taken away because of how bad they cheated. So they deserved everything they got last night, and it definitely was fun to see those Astros getting booed at Yankee Stadium.
Oh yeah, 100%. And the reason why I dislike them so much too is they never admitted to it, and I think that's why there's so much hate for them still, because they all wear it with pride. It feels like they all, we're the villains. We're gonna take, they take off and run with it. It's like they don't even feel any remorse from what they did, and I think that's why. I think even if they still cheat, obviously they'd still get the booze and all that, but I think it's even worse because it's like they don't seem to really, they never really apologized for it, and they never got suspended or anything. They never got penalized for this. Again, they got off scot-free. I know Hinch and Luhnow got fired.
Yeah, but that didn't even matter. It didn't matter that Lynch, that Luhnow and Hinch got fired, because the thing was, last year they were one game away from the World Series. None of those players should not even been playing last year, and they're one game away from the World Series.
Yeah, which was ridiculous. Yeah, they should have all got suspended, and I know Manfred, because they got an immunity because they kind of admitted it to him, and they kind of kept it on the wraps. No surprise to them with baseball, but yeah, it's ridiculous, and all those guys should have got some sort of suspension, because they treated worse than anybody has in baseball, and terrible. But that was great last night to see all the boos. Even Dusty Baker, he's like, oh, they were too hard on Altuve. He was trying, he had to pour a little bit too much effort. He's not one for his last 24, even though Dusty Baker credited he went hitless because it was the Yankee fans booing him the whole time. But he's one for the last 24. I think he's batting like 249 or something now. Like, he batted 219 last year. He's not been doing very well the last few years. And but yeah, that was a great reception. That, again, I can only imagine there's 50,000 there last night, because, again, you could be listening and not really even watching the game, and you would think there's 50,000 people at that game last night. It was crazy. Oh,
it was amazing, and the Yankee fans did a great job. They showed why they're great fans. I mean, they don't forget what happened, and they did it. And here's the thing: Pete Rose is blackballed from the MLB for betting on sports is legal now. The Astros cheated. It's exactly right about that. Yeah, Pete Rose, the all-time leader in hits, got blackballed for gambling, which was wrong too. But still, the Astros flat out cheated and just basically got a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And yeah, I know baseball, back then, where it's, we'll never do the sports gambling, we'll never be involved. But yeah, they're sponsored by DraftKings now. I don't know why. You gotta ban Pete Rose now. I think it's ridiculous. And yeah, and the Astros are getting the slap on the wrist to keep their trophy. It's ridiculous, and that's Major League Baseball. Again, it's the problem with Major League Baseball. It's ridiculous, and Jason's exactly right about that.
Yeah, I mean, Manfred pretty much just gave them a slap on the wrist, and they're still playing, and that's why they need to be prepared to be getting boos in a lot of these ballparks, especially at Yankee Stadium, especially if they go anywhere in their division, in Anaheim, in Texas, in Seattle, any team, Oakland. Oh, especially Oakland. Oakland's probably the worst. Yeah, anywhere in that division, any of those 4 teams in that division, Yankee Stadium and obviously Dodger Stadium, they got to get expected to get boos, because they screwed the Dodgers in 2017. They screwed the Yankees in 2017 and 2019, and they screwed the teams in their division. So those 6 places, they definitely will get the most boos. And you saw last year how the benches cleared when them and the Dodgers played.
Yeah, Joe Kelly, that was great. And Joe Kelly gets suspended too for trying to take matters into his hands. If you like it or not, he took the matters into his own hands.
Yeah, he gets suspended, but no Astros get suspended.
Of course not. It's like they're under witness protection program. You're not gonna. You're just. The Major League Baseball is just gonna protect them from everything, and which is ridiculous. And yeah, they deserve. I know. Dusty Baker has to stand up for them, because he is their manager and all that, and I know he wasn't a part of that then. But when you took the job, and when you knew going to Yankee Stadium last night, you should have knew everything that was coming at you. You knew that it should have been relentless boos all night, and I know he didn't like it, but it's going to be like that in the next 3 days or 2 days. Oh yeah. It's
going to be like that all year when they travel when they play the AL West, and they play. And I don't know if they're going to the Dodgers, but if they play the Dodgers this year, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be the same thing. So yeah, it's just going to be boos pretty much all year long for what they did, and they deserve it. But getting to the Yankee, what'd you say?
Yeah, I was going to say 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting to the Yankees, though, I mean, they're starting to get hot. I mean, yes, I know they haven't played. They played the Tigers, and they swept the Tigers, and they split with the Orioles. But they're starting to get hot. I think a big reason for it is Kluber's pitched well. Kluber's pitched really well. He pitched really well on Sunday. I think Judge and Stanton really picking it up. I love the fact now that they're hitting together. Judge and Stanton really picking it up. You saw, the grand slam Judge hit on Sunday. You saw Stanton get a big home run last night. You've seen some of the big hits Stanton's been getting recently. The Judge and Stanton stepping up, that's been big, and obviously the rotation's been better too, and I think the bullpen's been great all year. So you're really seeing this Yankee team start to play better.
Yeah, you are. And just actually, Houston does go to the Dodgers. It's August 3rd and the 4th.
Oh, nice. Nice.
But of course, it's at 10 o'clock and 9:40 start. So.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so they will return. That will be fun as well. But yeah, again, the Yankees, they're 10-4 now since Jay Bruce retired, which is the best records in that span. So they're playing well right now. And I think Garrett Cole set the tone to start the homestand out. And yeah, I know Detroit is awful, but yeah, Kluber on Sunday. I took more of that out of it. It was his pitches were just filthy, and it just looked like himself from 5 years ago. I don't care if it was the Tigers. Again, I think whoever they face, whatever lineup they face, I think he would have shut down most of any or majority of the MLB lineups.
Yes, as Joe says, it doesn't matter who you face. I learned that doing the roll call with Joe. Joe does not. I remember I was doing the roll call. We were doing the roll call with him. And I was saying, look at who Lance Lynn. I think it was like, look at who he faced. He's like, it doesn't matter who you face, and it's a good point, Justin. You're making the point. It's Kluber. Yeah, it doesn't really matter who he's facing. He's been pitching better. Yeah,
it's not like he let play. Fastballs right down the middle, and the Tigers just couldn't execute. Again, he was using the quadrants. He was painting the corners.
As Jace just says, good teams beat bad teams, period. Yes.
They do. And the Yankees have finally started to do that. But that Stan right now is just that he's on a tear. And, the big thing about Sam, too, is because all Yankee fans have been on top of him, and this is the guy we've been waiting for 3 years. But the biggest thing in baseball is rhythm and timing. And when you play 20 regular season games a year, it's pretty tough to get your rhythm timing down. And now that he's been healthy all of April, he was healthy in March, so we had a full spring training, and he's on fire right now. He's one of the hottest hitters. I think he's batting 429 in the last week, and he's shortened his foot tap this year. Like he looks like the guy from Miami we saw 3 years ago that won the MVP and was just an absolute monster. And this is what we've been waiting for, Yankee fans. And Judge has been picking it up too lately. Like if these two guys kind of keep it going, it's scary.
Absolutely. And you look at the road ahead. The Yankees, they play Washington this week. I think they got to take 2 out of 3 in that series.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, especially because I think it's a 7-game road trip coming up after that. It's a Nationals team that's kind of been up and down. Their rotation's still solid, but at home, the Yankees usually take care of business at home, and they got to be able to definitely take 2 out of 3, especially just to feel good going back out on the road. You're playing well. Everybody's excited now that this team's kind of finally back on the right track that we all thought was going to happen in the beginning of the year. It took some time, but yeah, 2 out of 3 this weekend. It's a lineup that it's not great. They have some pieces, but it's a team that they should beat.
Absolutely. I think 2 out of 3. They should definitely take at least 2 out of 3 from the Nationals. Right. Moving on to the Red Sox, who are hanging on. They're still in first place, and their offense is still outstanding. Obviously, the middle of that lineup might be one of the best in baseball with Bogarts, Devers, and JD. Verdugo's been hitting the ball well too. Vasquez is a little bit cold lately, but he's still hit the ball pretty well as well. Hit the ball well too. But the problem with the Red Sox is I don't know how long this pitching, and they lost 3 out of 4 at Texas. I don't know how long this pitching is going to last. That's the problem, because it's going to be a while till Chris Sale gets back, and I don't know how long, because Eddie Rod didn't have a good start didn't have that great of a start against the Rangers. Last night, Pavetta, even though they beat the Tigers, he didn't have that great of a start. We know Richards has been up and down, so the pitching has been up and down. I don't know if this. I think Alex Cora is a really good manager, and I really like this lineup. I don't think this rotation is good enough right now for them to be a championship team. What's going to have to happen is Eddie Rod's going to have to be really good, and Chris Sale's going to have to come back and be really good. I still think this is a team that could compete for a wild card spot, but the way it's looking right now, with Springer back with the Blue Jays, and you got the way the Yankees are playing, I think eventually the Yankees and Blue Jays overtake this Red Sox team.
Yeah, I think eventually they will. It's been 1 through 6 for the Red Sox lineup. They're 9-hitter right now, so they're the worst team right now in Major League Baseball at the 9 spot with on base percentage. So that's including all the National League teams that have pitchers at 9 spot.
Wow, that's a staggering number right there.
Yeah, so it
shows you how good their 3, 4, 5 are. That they're still in the top 5 in runs scored.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because it's even at the leadoff spot, they've kind of struggled to find that guy. But yeah, with Martinez, Bogarts, Devers, Verdugo's starting to play better. Yeah, so it just shows how good that middle of the lineup is, and that's kind of where their production's been coming from this year. And they've been able to carry it. And I know they pounded the Tigers. They got a ton to run last night against Tigers. They should probably win tonight as well. But yeah, it's and then the pitching. I think Chris Sale's supposed to go start throwing very, very soon. I think in the next few weeks they're saying. So I think they're still talking like July, August for him. It sounds like too they're not even gonna rush him back. And the Yankees and Red Sox have been the opposite side of the coin. Yankees have been underperforming.
Red Sox has been overperforming. I wouldn't say it's overperforming a little bit. Yes, in the beginning it has. It's starting to come. Their rotation's starting to come down to earth. The big reason why the Red Sox are in first place is because of their offense and how good Matt Barnes has been.
Yeah, Barnes has just been. He's been electric. Him and Chapman have probably been the two best relievers right now in the American League and maybe all of baseball so far. They again he's been. And the other thing about Barnes too is you probably remember this the two things is. He could not throw a first pitch strike last year. I think now he's up to like 70 or 80% this year. And he was a human rain delay last year too. He's actually at times this year quick pitching him. And I
think Alex Cora makes a difference. I think Alex Cora saw what he didn't do well last year, and that's why he's turning it around. Because Ron Renicky was not turning anything around. Alex Cora being the manager that, and I know he was part of that cheating scandal, but being the manager that he is, he's turning that around.
Yeah, he has. And I think just him being that clubhouse, he's such a player's manager that, it's really turned that place around this year. And again, all the Reds, up in Boston after that 1-3 start, again, they were done. They thought the season was over, and here they are. I know they're starting to fall off a little bit, but yeah, he's really turned things around, especially after that first weekend too. But
they're in it. They're in it, and they're going to be in it. I think this team is going to be in it. They're going to battle with Alex Cora. They may not win 90 games, but they're going to battle. They're going to compete with Alex Cora. That's the big thing. They're going to be it. They're going to be in a wild card. They're going to at least be in a wild card race. Most likely they'll be in the division race with the Blue Jays, the Yankees, and the Rays. So they're going to be in it. That's the biggest thing.
Oh yeah, I think they will be. They may go make a move or two at the end of July because I know a lot of people didn't think they would be in it this year, but yeah, they will. It's a team that's they're not going to go away quietly. And then actually on the Erod too, with the dead arm too, his fastball is it's like in the low 90s right now, which it's concerning. They were kind of hoping it'd be a little bit higher at this point, but so there's starting to be some concern because the fastball just has not been there. Because Texas hit him around the other night. I think it was Saturday night, I believe.
And you don't want to be getting hit around by Texas. There's a problem when Texas is hitting you around.
Yeah, you do. It's not a good team outside of Joey Gallo. There's not much in that. Actually, Nate Lowe's.
Yeah, Lowe's been playing well. Nate Lowe's, he's off to a pretty good start. He's off to a pretty good start for them.
Yeah, that's about it. That's all that lineup has at the moment. So, you don't want to be getting hit around now. And yeah, they need him to get going. Of all these, still been pretty good. But yeah, outside of that, Pivetta got hit to a terrible Tigers team as we just saw Yankee fans last week. That lineup is not very good. So that's a concerning sign. But the pitching staff has done enough. But yeah, I don't know how much longer they can keep it up.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening. We'll see what ends up happening there. But lastly, to wrap up the show, we got to talk about a team that's underachieved. They're in the top of their division. That whole division is underachieved, and that's the Mets. The Mets, they're all, especially offensively, and that resulted in them firing Chili Davis. And I just don't think this move is really going to make things better. I know Lindor's struggling. I know Alonso's struggling. I know that outside of Nimmo, this whole offense is struggling. So I just don't think this move makes this team better.
No, I don't either. And I don't know if you heard I think it started like the end of last week or this weekend with the Donnie Diesel as like their imaginary batting coach or hitting coach or whatever. Because again, they started getting some runs off the Phillies. And that was kind of a weird thing there and then that was weird. And then, what the Mets like official statement was like, we're not firing Chili Davis because of the results. It's the, execution. And that's telling me too that Chili Davis was probably not very analytical, which I know he's an old school guy too. So they probably figured, okay, well, again, it's not working. So let's go with the analytical guy that's going to listen to us. And, he can be our button pusher. So, yeah, because Chili Davis has won a lot, and I think it was very wrong for the Mets the way it went down, because he's really respecting the MLB. He's been in the game for forever. It's kind of a disappointing way to kind of get rid of him. But, and Pete Alonso was, after he saw the news on Twitter after the game, while he was eating his post-game meal, and I guess he said goodbye to him, and he sat in his locker and cried for like an hour, after he left. So I think even Lindor was upset. So it sounds like the players are upset by this too. So it'll be interesting how they respond. I know they got rained out last night, and we'll see how this decision goes.
And speaking of last night, their best pitcher and the best pitcher in baseball, Jacob deGrom, was scratched from his start with right lat inflammation, and he won't throw for a few days. This could be concerning for the Mets. I mean, they cannot afford to have this guy miss really any kind of time, any sort of time, because the way this team is hitting, and they shouldn't be hitting like this because they have much more talent. They have a ton more talent to be hitting the way they're hitting, but the way this team is hitting, this would be a huge loss if he's got to miss 2 to 3 weeks.
Oh yeah, they'd be in trouble. You already have Syndergaard out. Carrasco, I think it's getting closer to coming back, but they don't have much in the hitting. It's like I mentioned with Lindor. Lindor's not even putting good contact in the baseball. He's hitting dribblers and striking out. He's not even getting good wood. So it's concerning. And yeah, you don't have him. They can barely score runs with them and with he's on the mound. So yeah, I think the one good thing maybe for the Mets is because of how bad this division's been, they can kind of somehow stay in it. But you think at some point the Braves start to play better. You think the Nationals have more talent. So at some point, I think teams in this division are going to start playing better. But, you lose him or two for a start. It's very problematic. And he's had injury history, as we know. So it's, concerning if you're a Mets fan.
Absolutely. And we'll see how much time DeGrom ends up missing. And we'll probably get that news today on what happens with Jacob deGrom. But that's going to wrap it up here on Sports Talk with R&J. We want to thank our producer, Chase Garcia, who did a great job. And for Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking about the last week of the NBA season, the big games on the NFL schedule that comes out at night on next Wednesday, and any MLB news that comes our way. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
High fly ball, right field. Grossman back, track, wall, see ya, into the second deck. A grand slam the other way for Aaron Judge, and the Yankees are pouring it on.
For the latest news throughout the sports world, tune in to Sports Talk with R&J every Wednesday at 1 p.m.